Okay, it's 5:30. Are we ready to get started?
Yep.
Okay. Well, hello everyone and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Whether you're joining us live or watching this recording later, thank you for taking the time to be part of this important conversation. I'm Shelby Hopkins, Executive Manager of Clackamas Fire, and today we're joined by Gladstone City Administrator Jackie Betts, Fire Chief Nick Brown, and Assistant Chief Brian Stewart, who are here to help guide us through the topic of the possible annexation of Gladstone Fire into Clackamas Fire. The purpose of this webinar is to make sure our entire community is fully involved about the annexation process, the available options, and most importantly, how it may impact you. This session is being recorded and will be available soon at clackamasfire.com. At the end of the presentation, you will see a QR code on the screen. Scan that for additional resources and details, and please don't forget to take the community survey, which is also available on our website. Your input is incredibly valuable. Finally, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar by using the chat feature. We'll do our best to address as many as possible at the end of the session. With that, let's get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shelby. Excited to have everybody here. This is an awesome opportunity for us to engage the community in another effort outside of the face-to-face town hall style open houses that we've been doing. It's an opportunity to engage the community using technology for those that couldn't attend, and to engage and educate the community of what's coming. So this is awesome. Can we go to the next slide? Love this map. So if you really look at this map, this is a great picture of the vast services or vast service area that Clackamas Fire protects and serves the community. Currently, Clackamas Fire is made up of about 415 firefighters, administrative personnel, seasonal, and volunteer members. In total, Clackamas Fire district protects about 303 square miles within Clackamas County from 24 community fire stations, serving roughly 265,000, give or take, residents. We provide services to 6 cities and 16 unincorporated communities. 2 of those 6 cities are under contract for service, and one of those 2 is Gladstone, and is the main reason why we're here tonight to educate about some exciting things that are potentially upcoming. Clackamas Fire is an all-hazard fire district, fire agency. Some of the public services that Clackamas Fire provides is obviously fire suppression, specialty rescue, paramedic, emergency medical services. We have a community paramedicine program, wildland firefighting and fuel mitigation division that is serviced with a Type 2 hand crew, which is unique in the state of Oregon to a municipal fire department, for municipal fire departments to have, and fire districts to have. We have emergency management and incident management team, fire prevention, code enforcement, and plans review, as well as public engagement and public information from the community services division. The internal services we offer and provide our people are health and wellness and safety, fleet services, logistics, information technology, firefighting EMS training, volunteer services, and human resources and financial services. All of that encompasses Clackamas Fire and the services that we provide. Clackamas Fire is made up and began this venture in about 1972 with the merger of multiple fire agencies looking for a better way to provide services to the community, and since that day has formed into what we are today. Next slide. Turn some time over to Chief Stewart.
All right. Hey, thanks, Chief. One of the things I just tag on to the last slide, even though the map's off, but I think folks down in Gladstone will understand it, and certainly folks in Clackamas County. One of the other services that we provide for I think since the mid '90s at really a high level, is our water rescue program. And given
Thank you.
we've got Clackamas with High Rocks running through there, we've got the Willamette with Meldrum Bar Park, and a lot of use out there. It's a pretty active program, and I think we do a lot of good preventative work as well as rescue work, both from the water rescue team, and then certainly all of our members are trained to water rescue capabilities as well. So a little bit about our relationship with Gladstone. So as the chief said, Clackamas goes back to 1972, and certainly Gladstone as a fire department goes back well before that, back quite a ways. But we started having a different type of relationship with Gladstone over the last few years as the community in Gladstone was beginning to see a decline in its ability to retain its paid on-call firefighters back for the last 20 years or so. It really had relied on paid on-call firefighters who would respond from home, come into the station when the alarm sounded, get a rig out, and then as those folks that didn't make it onto that first rig would remain at the station for a second rig out or the next call if one came. And then the call would be done, they'd wrap up, they'd go back home. And into the late teens, Gladstone had kind of evolved into hiring some full-time supervision with on-shift captains and looking to provide that overall leadership. They were able to rent some space right behind the station to make sure that they had responders close by to the station, so just running around rather than having to drive in. But they still maintain challenges with recruitment and retention of individuals as it became harder. And we've seen it with volunteer ranks across the nation. Hard for people to get time away from the employees, hard to get away from family engagements, those types of things. So they started looking at different options, and they had gotten through COVID by really moving to really full-time staffing, moving some of those part-time firefighters to temporary full-time positions. But as they came out of that and realized that they needed to find a long-term solution, we started to discuss what that future could look like. And back in 2022, the city of Gladstone said, and Clackamas had reached an agreement about what staffing could look like. And we bolstered staffing from their really minimum of 2 on duty any given day to a contract for service starting in June of 22 to increase that to 3 people in a fire engine, at least one of which is always a paramedic. Sometimes we have 2. On occasion, we might have 3. But since June of 2022, we've been providing that service both on a response perspective. We've also been providing fire inspection, plan review, community service, engagement, all those services that you had talked about with Clackamas Fire as a whole. And then as we got into the contract, like, what does that future look like? And about a year ago, we started having more conversations. And I should go back and say that during the contract, we have been meeting in what we call an interagency committee. A couple of our elected officials, management, a couple of their elected officials, and the city administrator would jump in and have a conversation every 3 months about how things were going, how things were progressing. And this led down to the conversation of how do we make this relationship permanent? What is there, if that is something that the community wants to do, if that's something that we're seeing the value in the services that Clackamas provides, how do we get to this where we can secure it for the long term? And so we began exploring that. And then earlier this year, the city of Gladstone did their own planning, brought their new council on board. We met with a joint work session to talk about what this would be, and a joint work session being their full city council, our full board of directors. And we collectively, or the elected officials collectively, agreed that we should do some exploratory work, do some outreach, and that's really what we've been engaged in over the last couple of months. And ultimately, if this continues to move forward, then the voters in November, those Gladstone voters would have the opportunity to put a checkbox on put their check on a ballot regarding annexation of Gladstone into Clackamas on a permanent basis. Next slide, please. So we kind of talked about this, or I kind of shared a little bit about why Gladstone's considering annexation on the previous slide. Again, as a small department running 2 people on a fire engine, it's difficult to maintain the training, it's difficult to maintain recruitment, it's difficult to maintain that ongoing staffing piece as the volunteer level, not in Gladstone, but nationwide, has been facing challenges. Like I said, it's difficult to get time away from employers. It's difficult time to get away from families. We're all just so inundated that really moving to that full-time model worked. But as a small agency, it's expensive. What they could do for the cost and the money that they had, we were able to come in and with a little bit more do more. But the costs are tight, certainly. So we were looking at what annexation could be in a long-term piece. And it provides really Gladstone not just the opportunity to secure services, but also to have a direct input into what those services are. And Nick, it looks like you came off mute.
I'm having some computer issues, Brian. Sorry,
Oh,
it's
okay.
kicking me in and out. The Zoom's kicking me in and out, so I'm trying to figure it out. Apologize.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Anyway, so with annexation, really it puts Gladstone residents in an opportunity to have more control. Again, being able to vote directly on issues, having the potential to have an elected official directly on the fire district board, and really have that stability and say in how their tax dollars are utilized by the district as a whole.
And Brian, I
Please.
wanted to add from the city of Gladstone's perspective that the services that Clackamas Fire has been providing since 2022 has been outstanding. And under the current service contract, it doesn't fully align with the service levels that we are receiving. And when we negotiated our contract, we said we can pay you what we have budgeted in our general fund. And it came out to $2.06 per thousand. And we knew that we were getting a great deal for that. And I think that that is also why the timing is right for Gladstone to consider the annexation, is because we realize that the service levels have been greater than what we anticipated in the contract.
Great. Thanks for adding that in, Jackie. I appreciate that additional. And we'll move on to the next. Nick, you want to speak to the benefits of annexation?
Great. Thanks, Brian. So what are the benefits of annexation? Annexation makes financial sense for Gladstone residents. It's a consistency and provides the opportunity for a steady increased services from what they had before, more control and more stability. So this provides Clackamas Fire the ability to approve to deploy the resources that we have fire district wide and the equipment that we have into the best quantifiable using quantifiable data to be able to stick the best location for firefighters and increase staffing as needed. Again, this ensures Gladstone residents will receive the same enhanced service levels as the rest of Clackamas Fire District. And I think it gives better overall coordination of emergency response under one single district. I think this gives peace of mind for the citizens, knowing that Clackamas Fire and the 24/7 paramedic service that they've been receiving, which is huge for the community, are going to be that way in perpetuity. And Jackie, what are some things outside of what I've said that you see on your end, I guess on the city's end?
I think one of
benefits?
the great benefits is that the city of Gladstone will retain ownership of the fire station, but that
Yep.
Clackamas Fire is committed to staying in downtown on Portland Avenue. And so I just wanted to highlight that it's a very busy station there. It's very visible. your employees like being there, but we will have a separate agreement if the annexation is approved, where Clackamas Fire will stay in that location, but again, the city will own the property.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great benefit right there. And I love how you articulated that. When you really look at where that station is and where it's strategically located, it just services the city of Gladstone and can get into the surrounding areas really quickly. And so I think that's a really good key point. Brian, you have anything else to add to that slide? You're muted.
Sorry, thank you. I think just tagging on to that aspect of kind of the regional coordination, the ability to move resources as needed. Things change during different seasons of the year. But if you recall the map, you'll see like how the fire chief said, like that fire station is a great jumping off spot for assisting other areas, but that's also a great spot that gets assistance from other areas, and we're able to move those units as we need for the benefit of the whole, through that kind of regional coordination and just the efficiency that we see as a permanent district. Thank you.
Love that. Okay. Yeah, let's move on to the next slide.
And so what are the alternatives to annexation? So as the fire chief suggested, Clackamas Fire District right now is really comprised of 13 entities that were all separate at one point. 2 of those are contracts with the city of Gladstone and Sandy Fire District 72. But over our history, 11 entities have formed together to come and form Clackamas, because that scale, that regionalization, the efficiencies found have made sense. But it may not be appealing to the community at this time. That's something that we're out having the conversations about to inform and allow the elected officials to get that feedback. So we are under a contract, and this contract is going to come to an end. And so if annexation is not accomplished before that, the city will need to renegotiate the service contract with Clackamas Fire if that's something they want to do to maintain service. And as Jackie shared earlier, the cost of that contract is not going to be what it is today. We got in at a point where their budget was already set. They had their funding of what they could do, but certainly it is not representative of the services that are being delivered or the cost of those services. And so that service contract would need to be renegotiated. And then the second bullet point of, what does that mean to the city? Jackie, would you mind jumping in a little bit on that?
Yeah, because ultimately, you're correct. The alternative is we can't go back to trying to create or have our own fire department, because the city does not have the financial resources to do that. So we would have to renegotiate, and the true cost of the enhanced services that the Gladstone residents are getting, we realize we would have to get to that $240 per thousand. Currently, we're paying $2.06 per thousand. So what that means is that there may have to be a reduction in service levels for other services that the city provides funded through the general fund. For instance, that could be the police department, it could be our parks, it could be the community center, it could be economic development. So we realize that if the annexation is not approved, that we're going to have to renegotiate the contract. How that will affect other services we provide, there will likely be an impact to that.
Great, thank you for adding in there. Shelby, may we go to the next slide? And so over the past few months, as I shared earlier, the elected officials, the board, the city council said, hey, this is something that we want to learn more about. We want to engage the community, and inform them about some information and get some feedback from them. And so over the last several months, we've been doing a number of things. I believe it was back in February that we did a joint work session Again, both elected boards or the council coming together to talk about how the relationship's been, how service has been. And I think everything that Jackie described earlier and the fire chief described was really echoed by members of the council and members of the board. And that meeting is available online on City of Gladstone's website and Clackamas website if you want to go back and look at that as well, just to see what that conversation was about. But since that conversation, that we've got the consensus to have staff move forward with that engagement. And so we've done a number of things. The city's done a number of things, putting out information in the city newsletters. Sometimes that's information, sometimes it's announcements about other happenings such as the open houses. And Chief mentioned this earlier. We're doing this outreach tonight, but previously twice in May on Saturdays, we did open houses. Well attended. One was at the fire station, which is great, downtown Portland Avenue. A lot of traffic. It was the same day as the spring sale, so we got some mutual traffic from there, and had the opportunity to engage. And really, what people had the chance to see was see the fire trucks come in, meet with us as staff, learn a little bit about fire safety, also learn about our outreach and our information on annexation. You can picture these slides, and there are little variations of these slides, but these were on, I don't know, 2 by 3 foot or 3 by 4 foot posters that were in the station with like 5 of those that people could look at and then grab the fire chief, grab myself, and have the ability to jump in and say, well, what does this mean? What does that mean to me and my family? What does it mean to the district as a whole? So I think that was a great opportunity at the fire station. And then we did the next one, and that was over at the community center. So that was another great venue, a little different space because we wanted to make sure that we were reaching different aspects of the community and giving everybody an opportunity to engage, just like we are tonight. So that was out there. We've been promoting online surveys, and we've made printed surveys available to individuals at those open houses. And as Shelby shared earlier, that survey is still open and available. So please jump on the QR code or jump on one of our websites, and you'll get linked over to those surveys, which are part of the online resources. Again, if you jump on the QR code, you'll see those resources online. It's information about what we're doing. It's those posters in kind of that PowerPoint format, some of the same information. And then we've been sharing other information. And I think, Chief, maybe you could talk to, the outreach that you've done to reach out to community groups and start to spread the word through your letters and those types of things.
Yeah, thanks. We have a newsletter that we submit throughout really all of Clackamas Fire, but specifically in Gladstone, that just kind of speaks to the ongoing day-to-day within the Clackamas Fire family. It's what I really like about the newsletters is it speaks to some high level stuff that Clackamas Fire is forecasting and implementing, and it also has a call tracker on there that speaks to the run volume, what your fire department's been responding to, and something new that we've implemented this year on that is some qualitative analytics that reflect how much property loss that we've been able to save. So how much property loss we've been able to stop from losing, and how much property we've been able to save. And it's staggering when you see those kind of numbers. We engage in community groups, community meetings. What I've loved most really about the community of Gladstone is the community engagement at like the 4th of July at the park when Chief Schmerber, myself, and Jackie's been there serving hot dogs to the community. So really, at all fronts, engage in the community and letting them know who their service provider is and what it means to have Clackamas Fire be your permanent emergency services provider. Love it. Next slide. Okay. So what would the annexation cost? So the simple fact of the matter is it costs the same amount that it costs current Clackamas Fire residents. For the citizens of Gladstone, there would be a monthly increase of a little bit more than a cup of coffee based on the median assessed valuation for the community. The city of Gladstone would repeal the current emergency services levy. And Gladstone residents would currently pay the Clackamas Fire levy, would be able to vote on the next time that comes forward to be voted by the taxpayers. So, and any future funding measures that come forward, the citizens of Gladstone would be able to vote on. So if you really look at the median assessed valuation in the home basic home within Gladstone, you'd see an increase of a little bit less than $7.50 per month for fire and EMS services. And again, I think this is just really, really important. There is an emergency services levy within Clackamas Fire, but it's important to realize that Gladstone residents would not pay for the existing levy and would have the opportunity to vote on any future funding measures as they come forward. So, yeah, anything else with that, Jackie or Brian, that I missed?
I just wanted to reiterate that the city of Gladstone would reduce the amount that we collect in our permanent rate for property taxes. And I think that's really important for the residents to understand. A question came up about what mechanisms are in place to assure that that happens. And we held our budget committee meeting a few weeks ago, and in the budget message, you will see that if this annexation is approved in November, we will go back to Clackamas County and do a budget adjustment. Well, we will reduce the amount that we collect from the general fund by $1.75 per thousand, and we will no longer collect the fire levy, which is 31 cents per thousand. So that language would also be in the ballot measure that's referred to the voters to provide some assurances that the city's not going to change their mind and start collecting it. My recommendation to the council would be that we don't collect that for at least 3 years to help this neutralize. But I really believe that that's the fair way to approach this. Is there is an increase to the Gladstone ratepayers, but the only way I think it can be successful is if the city of Gladstone is committed to reducing what we're collecting currently.
Thank you, Jackie.
And then, Chief, I think I would just add in a brief comment on the assessed valuation of a home is not the market value of a home. So if you're thinking about your house is worth $500,000 or $300,000 or whatever it may be, the assessed valuation of that home is typically considerably less. Every home is different, but this is where measure 5 and 50 come in, and you go back to the assessed valuation of a home being set really back in 1996 for pre-existing homes. So that I just want to differentiate and make sure that people understand, or at least offer out to them, that the median assessed valuation of a home, or the assessed valuation of a home, is oftentimes much less than what the home is market value.
Awesome. Great points. All right.
So I can jump in on this one. I think we kind of touched a little bit on the timeline for potential annexation, and at least in terms of what we've done, kind of January through June, and really this is getting close to June board meetings for both Clackamas Fire and then City of Gladstone, which I believe the city's meeting is on June 10th. So next Tuesday, they're having a city council meeting. And so the city will be considering at this next council meeting whether or not to move forward with the process. And one of the things that they will be doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, or at least how you're going to approach it, is they have a resolution drafted to approve. And if they do that, that resolution basically is going to request approval to annex into Clackamas Fire. So it's just part of the process. And I think it makes sense that Gladstone couldn't just jump in and say, hey, we want to be part of Clackamas, that Clackamas would have to have a way of saying, yep, that makes sense to us too. And so the process is that they would approve a resolution, and then later this month, the Clackamas Fire Board would receive that and receive a briefing and consider whether or not they would want to bring Gladstone into being part of Clackamas permanently. So that's kind of the next step. Jackie, is that still on tap? I think that's in your board packet for this month.
Yeah, so that packet went online today, and you're exactly right. There is a process in place to do this, and the first one is to ask Clackamas Fire, will you allow the city to annex into the district? And if the board approves that, then at the July 8th meeting, we would prepare a resolution to refer it to the November ballot. So it's not the city council that's ultimately deciding whether or not this annexation is going to happen. It's the voters of Gladstone. And I think that's the beauty of our democracy, is that the council is referring it to the residents for them to vote on how that happens. So July 8th would actually be the meeting that we would refer it to the ballot.
Great. I think that's a fantastic point to bring up, is that this is all in offering the voters an opportunity if the council decides they want to move forward, if Clackamas decides that makes sense to their constituents as well, to bring this together, that it would be an opportunity for residents to have that vote and have that say on how they want their fire services to look moving forward. And so considering and assuming that those both continue to move forward, and the city of Gladstone Council wants to provide that opportunity and refers the measure to the voters for November, you would see a continued outreach. You'd see in a variety of forums, depending on engagement, like we're actively engaged at the August Gladstone Days and those types of things. Those are good opportunities to meet, greet, come by the fire station, all those things. But that feedback and opportunity to provide answering of questions and just information would continue on through that August and November timeframe, so people can make informed decisions. We want people to be empowered and understand what's they're being offered, and give them a sense of being informed to be able to make that decision for them and their families and their community. And then if the measure is referred, obviously we're a vote by mail state. And so you get your ballots, and then the voting date, of course, is that second Tuesday following the first Monday of November, but I don't have the date offhand in my head. So that's kind of what the next little bit looks like. And so we've talked about staying informed. So we'll leave this slide on the screen while we take questions. But really quick, there's that QR code if that's the way you like to interact. Or you can look to the right and you'll see both contact information for the city, and they have an online submission form. You can also give them a call or visit their website. And then down for Clackamas Fire, we've got our email address as well as our phone and website up there as well. But with that, I guess let's turn to Shelby and see if we have any questions.
Yeah. Again, thank you everyone for joining us or watching this recording later. We do have some questions in chat from community members. The first question, can you talk a little bit more about how this will improve response times in Gladstone? And would this impact water rescue?
You got that one, Brian.
Okay, yeah, I saw you nodding there. I wasn't quite sure if you wanted to jump in on it or not. So that's a great question about would it impact response times or water rescue, if I caught those two pieces. So I think initially what you'll see us continue to provide the service that we do, and we'll look at and evaluate what that service may adjust to as we go through what's called the standards of cover, and look at our district as a whole and how we can provide resources where they're needed, when they're needed. I mentioned earlier a little bit about seasonality. Sometimes we do a little bit of upstaffing for wildfire season in a particular area. We also look at weather events and those types of things and adjust our staffing accordingly. We want to provide the best services where we can with the money that we have available. So I think you'll see that adjust not just in the short term, but in the long term. We're going to continually evaluate how we can be efficient regionally, making sure that we meet our standards for response and times, and making sure that we get the right people to the right calls with the right resources. So I think that's a key component. And then speaking to water rescue, I think one of the things, and Nick, you probably remember the details of this call a little bit better than I have in my head, but talking about our response off of Meldrum Bar.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that's really that shows exactly what Clackamas Fire brings. So not only do we have a regionally respected and nationally renowned water rescue program to deal with water rescues, but our day-to-day crews are trained to that. We had a water rescue call recently within the last year off of Meldrum Bar. And the reports were that there was a patient going downstream and bobbing up and down underwater. Just as the crews arrived, they noticed a victim fighting for their last breath. Immediately, we deployed 2 firefighters in the water to swim out to him. One of which was able to grab the victim before they submerged for the last time. They belly rolled over so that the victim had their head above water, and then a rope bag was thrown, and they were pulled in and pendulumed in before Clackamas Fire's water rescue team got there, before Lake Oswego's water rescue team got there, before Tualatin Valley's water rescue team got there, because we are a part of the water rescue consortium. And it just shows that not only do we have a specific water rescue team, but our firefighters on a daily basis are trained to enter the water and perform rescues at hand. So the key is having staffed, trained personnel that are able to respond from the strategically located stations, like in Gladstone, to be able to mitigate and respond to calls just like this. And there's a resident that is alive today because of the decisions that Gladstone City Council and the city administrator made moving to Clackamas Fire. So yeah, I'm assuming that's the call you're speaking to, Brian.
That's the one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's just a recent call that highlighted it, and especially because it was located in Gladstone. Yeah, I think it was. Hopefully that kind of addresses the question that was there.
Yeah, can I just dive a little bit deeper too? Because we're talking about staffing as well, right? And the ability within to appropriately staff Gladstone. It's strategically located, and so currently we are in confines of what the contract provides. This gives us the opportunity to upstaff at certain times of the year, and if we have a flood event, being able to increase staffing in that community station. So there's just a lot of benefits in addition to everything you described, Brian. So thank you.
Yeah, just jumping in here really quick. I think that's fantastic on the positive benefits. I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to reinforce that it's about protecting the service levels that are being provided, which are significantly enhanced from what the community was receiving before 2022. And so it's important to keep in mind that the annexation is about formalizing a long-term relationship. If that's what the community decides to pursue, that's the same path as many of Gladstone's neighbors, including Oregon City, Happy Valley, Oak Lodge, Milwaukee, have all decided that there's security, there's predictability under Oregon's special district model to have continuity of fire and emergency services. Right now, where Gladstone's operating on a short-term contract, it does leave the ability to staff and provide fire services up to shorter-term agreements that really can blow in the wind of where other issues are. And so annexation will protect those enhanced staffing levels that Jackie referenced, and can give that certainty to the community that their fire service will be stable, steady, predictable for whatever the need is.
Great points, Chris.
Okay, well, we do have some more questions.
Love it.
I do see a couple people in the community with their hand raised. If you want to use the Q&A feature of Zoom to submit your question, then we can answer those questions that you have. But another question we have here, are the reductions in services you mentioned outlined in the current contract? Should we wait until the end of the contract period to vote for annexation?
I can lead that off, and then I think I'll have to maybe check in with Jackie for her thoughts as well. So the existing agreement, service contract that is between Clackamas and Gladstone Fire doesn't speak to any service reductions. It speaks to the services that Clackamas provides. Again, the fire, the EMS, the prevention, the code enforcement, education, community outreach services that we provide to the city. It doesn't speak to any other city services or engagements. It's really just about what we can provide from a customer service side, from a service, from an emergency response side to the community. So there's nothing in the current contract. And should we wait until the end of the contract period to vote for annexation? I think if we wait until the end of, if the communities were to wait until the end of the contract period to vote for annexation, we're behind the ball. Like, this is the opportunity, and Chris Edmonds shared it well. Like, this is the opportunity to secure the services that have been being provided, provide the flexibility of some of the services that Chief Brown and myself spoke to, and make sure that not only are those secured, but also that the city of Gladstone has the opportunity to secure its future moving forward, and it knows what it's looking at and how it can plan for the future as well. Jackie, I don't know if you have any other comments on that question.
You know, I just say that in my city manager 101 class, they always taught you that if you're going to go out for a measure, you really need to plan 1.5 to 2 years ahead of time, because if it doesn't pass, you have to be able to either regroup and decide if you're going to try to go out again, or it allows us time to renegotiate the existing contract before it does expire.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying those points. Appreciate it.
Okay. We have another question from the chat. What will be happening with the current contract?
So if the current contract, if annexation was approved by the voters, July 1 of 2026, we would move into the city of Gladstone being annexed into Clackamas Fire, and the existing contract would no longer be enforced. It would no longer be applicable to the relationship, because now Gladstone would be part of Clackamas Fire.
And then I think, Brian, a second agreement that the voters would not have to agree to would be regarding the use of the fire station and the facility.
Certainly, yes. And we just to share on that, maybe is we already have, as part of our existing agreement, part of that language is for the use of the facility, for the use of that Capitol building and occupying it, and who maintains what piece of it and those types of things. So we're in that relationship already, and so that piece would be, I guess, redrafted as a standalone document, adjusted to whatever extent it needs to be adjusted to. But yeah, there would be a separate agreement. So City of Gladstone would always have that property, that investment that community has made over time, or made originally, and still have the value of that as a resource to the community while Clackamas is occupying it on a rental basis or lease basis.
Well, I think that's important to speak to, right? Because that's been a staple in the community, that fire station. There's a lot of history in that fire station. There's a lot of, it's a beautiful building. And I think it's really important that the community knows that fire station is going to still be there, and you're still going to have your firefighters responding from there. And what Jackie speaks to is that security for the city post this happening between Clackamas Fire and the city of Gladstone. And so it is the building and that fire station is rich with history. from the community responding to it. One of the things that we got a lot in our community engagement was, I remember talking to multiple different families saying that they remembered hearing the air siren that would go off from that building. And that was the notification for people that there was a call. And they asked why in the fire service that's gone away from when it was like that in the 90s and 80s, why it is now. But it's just the community loves that fire station. We love that fire station. And it's really, really important to the city as well as the fire district to maintain that.
Okay. We have another question. How have Clackamas Fire and the City of Gladstone collaborated during this process? What will the relationship look like if annexation happens? And will there be any communication between the two?
Love that. I'll take that one, Brian, if you're good. And then Jackie, if you just want to jump in on anything that I miss. The relationship has been phenomenal and it'll continue to be phenomenal. Jackie and Brian and myself, and the police chief and myself, we meet frequently. The elected officials, we have an interagency committee that we currently meet. The fire district gives updates to the city council, and that won't change. It's important for me and it's important for Brian. I think it's important for Jackie to know, and for us to express to the community that I'm your fire chief and Jackie's your city administrator and Brian's your assistant chief. That doesn't change with this. And we will be that. And that will, with the annexation, that just secures that relationship. It's as if, we're dating and now we're going to get married. And that's the reality of this. And so we take great pride in being able to say that I'm your fire chief, and that Jackie's my city administrator. And that's a two-way synergistic relationship that won't change. It's important for us with the council that they know, and the mayor knows that that's the relationship that they've seen, will continue. Jackie, anything else to add with that piece, or Brian?
I just also wanted to add that Brian has attended our management meetings. I consider him to be part of our department head team. I think that they're very involved with the city council goals and what we're trying to enhance in the community, and that would absolutely continue moving forward.
Love that.
Okay. Another question. Has Clackamas Fire ever annexed a district before? And what was the process?
We've annexed multiple districts, and we've annexed, like I said earlier in the intro, we've annexed 4 cities. And what this would be an annexation with a city versus a district. And so basically the city would annex, the fire district would annex the city's fire protection, and we'd be your fire protection provider. So Happy Valley, Oregon City, City Milwaukee, and Johnson City. Those are 4 cities that we can point directly to, that we have a history of doing this. And fire districts, like at the beginning, that's what's made up Clackamas Fire, was the combining of fire districts and cities, to be able to provide a better level of service and to stretch the taxpayer dollar to be able to provide the best level of service. Fires and emergencies, they don't have a geopolitical boundary that they happen in. It's human beings that create that. And so by doing this, really eliminates those boundaries and provides the best opportunity for us all to be able to provide that top-notch, best level of service to the community that deserves it.
And Chief, really, if you go back to that map, that's the biggest selling point right there. If you look, that Gladstone is like a donut hole surrounded, and it's just about regionalizing and efficiencies of services for the Gladstone community.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Okay. Looks like one last question. Will the city promise us to always reduce our taxes by the amount we pay Clackamas Fire? I believe they're asking about the difference in tax rates. Why is there a difference?
Yeah, so what I'd like to reiterate is, if the annexation is approved and July 1, 2026, the contract is no longer in place, Again, we would work with Clackamas County to reduce the amount that we're currently collecting, which is $1.75 from the property taxes. And we would eliminate the fire levy, which is 31 cents per thousand. So that gets you to reducing what the city's collecting by $2.06. I can't promise forever that that will happen because ultimately it's up to the elected officials. But again, I believe that they're very supportive and understanding why we need to have this reduction. And my recommendation would be, at least for not 3 years, that we would reconsider doing that. But you know, future city councils can always unbind what is done. But I'm pretty sure that we have great support with this council that understands how we need to neutralize this cost effect.
Okay, and actually, we do have one last question and then we will be out of time. What is the bonded rate you currently have, and when was the last time your agency opted without a bond?
That's a great question. So in 2015, we went out for a capital bond where we purchased 17 fire engines. We built 2 new fire stations and a bunch of other capital items, radios, SCBAs, things of that nature. And that bond is due to expire in 2032. The fire service has opportunities to go out for levies and bonds and bonds are obviously for capital items. Levies are for personnel. So currently Clackamas Fire does have a levy and a bond that expires in 2032.
Okay,
Yeah,
Well-
I think it's important to note that those bond dollars go toward capital construction projects, and we've not made any decisions because I think that is what the question's gotten to. At this point, there have been no plans or decisions put in place about pursuing any future bonds. And if Gladstone were to be annexed into it, the Gladstone voters would be a part of that conversation.
Yeah. Yep. That's a 2032 combo, I think is when it all expires. And the Gladstone citizens would be a part of that if we decide to move forward.
okay. Well, thank you everyone for your time. We will upload the recording of this to our website at clackamasfire.com for anybody to watch. And don't forget the survey and our website to stay informed. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you attending.
Have a good night, everyone.